Hey, I'm September Smith, and this is the She's All That podcast, Season 2. As always, conversations with women doing awesome shit is the foundation of my podcast. And in this transition season to a post-pandemic world, my guests are business owners combining their agile business jobs, their expertise, and their insight to offer their clients innovative solutions for the post-pandemic business reality. Each and every one brings a fresh edge to business that you'll want to hear about. Welcome to the She's All That video podcast this week, and I am so thrilled to be talking to you today with Stacia Crawford, who is the founder of Stay Ready Media. Stacia is a visibility strategist and a media trainer, teaching authors, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders how to land TV, print, and digital coverage. Everything you need to know to become your own publicity machine, to increase their visibility, to get more leads, and to make money. Stacia is an award-winning journalist with over 3 decades as a TV news producer. And she's booked thousands of guests on TV, and she understands what editors and producers want. And she knows what it takes to deliver. She's also an adjunct professor at Columbia College in Chicago, where she teaches writing and reporting for TV news. Stacia, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you and I were talking a week or two ago, and we just got all excited about how, first of all, I love what you do, but there's so much commonality in what we are doing. You're getting PR via TV. I'm getting PR via podcast guesting. And unfortunately for me, a lot of people haven't quite wrapped their head around that idea that I can actually be getting valuable PR through podcast guesting. However, with your area, everyone knows the benefit of getting TV PR and getting that coverage. Absolutely. So just in case anyone's thinking, really? What exactly can TV PR do for someone's business?
Oh gosh, PR can dramatically change your business. So a lot of people, first of all, they don't really understand what PR is. So a lot of people might think, oh, well, PR is just kind of, you go on TV, you talk about your book, you talk about your business, and then people just come flocking to you. And, then the money just starts rolling in. It's like, no, that's really not PR. PR is really how you change the public's perception of your business. So PR, what we call is earned media, helping you get media coverage. And it's called earned media for a reason. And that is because you can't buy it. You cannot buy it. So you cannot pay someone to be on their TV show. That's pay to play. And it's, quite frankly, out of integrity, and it's unethical.
And it's often quite obvious.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It is.
It's kind of embarrassing.
It really is. So, when, a lot of times you might even see somebody doing sometimes celebrity endorsements, and you'll see them saying, oh, I use this product or whatever. And you're going, well, they have to say that because they've been paid to say that. And consumers, our public is very savvy, and they're very knowledgeable and intelligent, and they're intelligent enough to know, well, they get paid to say that. But when you have a journalist, when you are going on someone's news show, and a journalist has invited you to their set, to their show, the public knows then that you have been vetted. So it immediately increases your credibility and your authority, because now you've got, say, for example, Gayle King from CBS, Oprah's best friend. If you're doing an interview with her about your book, then you know that this is the real deal. This is an authority figure. This is someone who knows what they're talking about. They've been invited to this platform. And so that is what people really have to understand. PR it's a long game. It's not an overnight success thing. And don't think that you're going to have one media opportunity and it's just going to blow the gates open. It has to be repeated over and over and over again. It's a very repeatable process.
So you need a strategy for that.
You have to have a strategy. You absolutely must. I've even had people who've said, oh yeah, well, I've done some television interviews, but my sales didn't go through the roof.
I have that too, with people say, well, I've been on a podcast, didn't change my business. You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong, right? And often you're missing the most important part, and that is the foundation, and that is your PR plan. What is your goal? What are you setting out to do? Because everybody's PR is not going to look the same. The PR for one person is going to look very different from someone else, depending on what they're trying to accomplish.
So you need somebody like you who's kind of got a 30,000-foot view of the industry and all your experience of all the different kinds of guests to be able to go, okay, radar attuned to this. This is where you should be focusing. Oh,
Absolutely. And that's the key word, focusing, because all PR is not the same. All media coverage is not the same. And so you have to target the ones that are going to benefit you based on what it is you're trying to do.
exactly. Yeah. Yep. So getting it, I think, as I said, I think it's obvious. Everybody's like, ooh, I'd love to be on TV. I'm assuming most people think, ooh, I'd love to be on TV, to boost their business, also for egotistical purposes. But for the most part, if you're doing it for your business, for the potential for growth. So have you seen through your business and through the people you teach, the difference that it's making in their business as compared to, say, their competition when they start strategically employing this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you have a very comprehensive PR plan, like you said, versus the egotistical, people just want to be on TV for the sake of being on TV. That's not what I do. We're all about building your business. We're all about business growth. And so that means not just being on TV for the sake of being on TV, but really building that foundation. And the foundation is really the relationship. So the relationship that you have with a journalist. For example, you can hire a large PR firm. And a lot of times what they will do is they'll get you coverage, but that's the extent of it. So when you do get coverage, that's really the beginning of the work. That's not the end. That's where the real work starts. So it's like, you've got to follow through. There are some things that you need to do to leverage that.
Now, I know in my area what I need to do. Can you give us just a few things? Like, obviously, you can't go in depth.
Well, one of the things is that people often think, like, I will sometimes see people who are maybe on Facebook, on social media, and they might be sharing some really good information. And then I will say, well, wow, this would make, as a matter of fact, it just happened yesterday where there was a woman who had shared a really good story. And it was about her. She lives in a smaller community, and she got some local moms together. And what they did was of course, we're in a pandemic. So there was a small space inside the library that was just going totally unused. And what they decided to do is that they wanted to use this space to promote Juneteenth, which is, a holiday in the African-American community, highlighting African culture. And so they made this beautiful space, and it's like a mini museum is what it is. And it was just fascinating. And I saw this on Facebook and I thought, wow, this would be a great news story. And so people often don't think about those opportunities. They think, well, I share it on Facebook and now my work is done. But it's like, no, that's just the beginning. And the same thing goes when you do television interviews. It's like, okay, I've done that interview. Now I'm hands off. I just let it do its work. It's like, no, now is when the work begins. Now you start to leverage that. There are things you can do before, during, and after that television interview that helps bring more eyeballs to that interview. And that's what journalists want. I mean, it's the same thing with, a podcast.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on a podcast, if I'm going to be a guest on a podcast, I would like for the host to help promote it, and I'm promoting it, and, I'm getting my followers to promote it. And the same thing can happen with television as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that I see for people who aren't kind of thinking strategically about getting their message out, like, for example, this case you gave about the woman who got this amazing space ready for Juneteenth. I've often heard, well, I posted it on Facebook.
Right.
Even 5 years ago, posting it one time on Facebook only meant that like a few people would see it, and within a day or two, it was gone. Now it's even worse. Because only as little as like 3% of your entire connection.
That's exactly
audience is going to see it. So you posted it once. Who saw it? You might have had 19, 20 people see it out of potential thousands. So you got to have a plan. You can't just depend on throw it up on Facebook.
Sure, because people will post things on Facebook and they'll go, and I get that a lot now. Ask people, well, what type of strategies are you using? And they'll say, oh, I use Facebook. And I'm like, and? And they're like, well, maybe Instagram. I'm like, okay, but what, social media is just one strategy. I don't care if it's Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, it all falls into the same bucket of social media. And that's just one strategy. So There's so many others. And if you're not using them in combination with media, and I always have to stress free media, because this whole thing is free. You know, when you see people on your local news or the front page of a newspaper, they didn't pay for that. It's absolutely free.
And I love to say media begets media.
Oh,
if you knock it out of the park on a TV program or a news show or on a podcast or something, and people hear that and they're like, wow. I mean,
absolutely.
Podcast hosts and journalists and TV producers, they're busy people. If they find somebody that stands out, they're going to grab you and pull you in. So yeah, make sure that you do it right and you leverage it right, because it's going to help you get more media and really grow that thing.
Absolutely. And that's what I help my clients do as well, helping them, you know, because again, I come to the PR space, but because I bring this 30 years of knowledge of television. So I understand what's going on behind the scenes. And a lot of PR people don't. They're just using, you know, PR strategies that they've learned. But I'm actually, because I've been on that other side and making that decision of what producers are looking for, that's really the difference. And yeah, I teach them what are producers doing when they're looking for guests. You know, we're watching our competitors as well. So when you've done a media interview over here and you wonder why now all of a sudden you're seeing that person over here, like there's a reason for that.
Now, okay, you kind of surprised me there as somebody who's not, I've never used a PR company, but I always assumed that those people knew what the other side of the fence was like. So, I mean, how can you translate that, you know, both sides of that fence if you don't know what's going on over there?
Exactly. That is exactly right. And this is why, as a journalist, you know, I'm still a working journalist. So my inbox is full. I'm getting emails all day, all night. I mean, hundreds of emails a day. And so I get many of them, you know, some come from individuals and some of them actually come from PR professionals. And it's just funny because sometimes my colleagues and I will sit back and we'll look at a press release or we'll look at a pitch and we'll go, gee, can you believe that this actually came from a PR professional? They are making so many common mistakes because they've never been on the inside. They just think, oh, well, if we just do this, because this is what I was taught to do. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You got to know what's happening, you know, behind the scenes.
But their clients don't know that.
So
their clients are paying them big bucks to kind of fumble around and maybe have success with it. So yeah, it's best to go with somebody who really knows how it works.
Absolutely. And when you're working with a PR firm as well, you know, they're getting you that coverage, but they really serve as the middleman. So as opportunities come in, they're kind of filtering those things out to you. But what I do is I really teach you to put that PR in your own hands, put the power in your own hands.
Yeah, become your own PR machine.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. It's a well-oiled machine and you're building those relationships with those journalists. And so you become top of mind when we're having meetings, you know, every day before the show. We're all, you know, just imagine this conference room full of journalists trying to decide what the stories are we're going to cover for the day. And once we decide what that story is, we go to our quote unquote Rolodex, you know, of who are the experts that we want to talk to in that particular field. And so if I've got a relationship with someone and I know that they're professional, I know that they're well-spoken, I know that they've got a good handle on this topic, that's the person I'm going to call, the person that you know, all the vetting and everything's been done. I've seen their work, be it, you know, because I've worked with them before or seen them on another station, but it helps really cut down my work because I'm doing a million things too.
Oh, yeah.
And so for any journalist, are you going to choose someone who's fresh out the gate, who may or may not know what they're doing? Or are you going to go with the person who, oh, I've seen them on TV. I know they've got a great reputation and journalists talk. So even among competitors.
Yes. So, yeah. It's like, we're a horrible guest.
Absolutely. And immediately, you know, somebody else is going, oh, well, I'll never touch them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or they'll say, this person was a great guest. And it's like, oh, mental note. Next time I'm doing a story on this topic, that's who I want to talk to.
Yeah. Word travels.
Absolutely.
So when you were talking about like the word getting around about, you know, somebody not being a stellar guest, it's usually total amateurs. Like what are some of the horror stories you've seen from your experience, 30 years as a TV producer and with your background? What have you seen? that you thought you needed some kind of training. Somebody should have been.
Absolutely. Yes. And it really runs the gamut because sometimes, of course, you do expect that from amateurs, people who aren't familiar with it. But you also sometimes can get that from, the big guys, the stars, the celebrities. I remember one time when I had actually booked a world-renowned gospel artist for my show, and he was going to close out the show with this major performance. And we had the set already. And he shows up to the station like 10 minutes before he's set to go on, which is a huge no-no. I always teach my clients, this is when you have to come on because it depends on the size of the market, how long is the show, what type of segment is it? All of those things are going to affect, when you need to show up and how you need to show up. And he showed up at the station late, first of all. So of course, everybody's already in a tizzy because we're like, is he coming? Is he? Yeah. And you do not want to do that to a producer. No producer wants to be sitting in the booth thinking, what am I going to do if this guest does not show up? That is a killer. Absolutely. And he finally shows up, but he shows up hot and sweaty and he's got on his athletic wear. And he's like, oh yeah, I just came from the gym, but I thought you guys were going to have hair and makeup and wardrobe for me.
In the 10 minutes you left between arriving and going on?
Absolutely. And we're thinking, wait, this is not the Grammys. I know you've been on stages all over the world, but this is not the Grammys. We don't have a whole team of makeup people and, somebody holding your clothes, waiting for you to just slip into them. This is not how this works. And so it was a disaster. We did end up putting him on, but then it wasn't the vision that I had as the producer. We had this gorgeous set and we had the lights and all this stuff, which we couldn't use because we had to keep on these little tight shots of him so that people could see that he was wearing a tracksuit.
Oh my, so it was like his head.
Exactly.
So your gorgeous set was just wasted.
It was horrible. So, even with, it's not always the amateurs. Sometimes it's people who've done media over and over and over again, but they need to know specifically for this particular interview, this is what you can expect, and this is what you need to deliver.
Wow. So, oh God, if somebody's got experience like that and they can make such a ridiculous mistake.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I tell everybody media training is a must. And even in that, you don't want to wait until sometimes my people who come to me, they'll say, well, once I get this interview booked, then I'm going to hire you for media training. And I'm like, by the time that happens, it's too late.
Okay. I had read something you had said, by the time most people think they need PR, it's often too late.
It's often too late. Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Well, in their minds, they're thinking, well, my business is doing fine. I might be making maybe a couple $1,000s or, a month or getting few clients from social media, word of mouth, maybe some referrals, but it's not enough to to keep them afloat. And it's almost like, when you're doing I kind of think of it as multi-level marketing where you go to your friends and family, and then what do you do when you run out of friends and family? It's like, okay, now what? And PR is the same. So yeah, you're doing social media, you're getting word of mouth, you're getting referrals, but that is very limiting. It's very limited. And so you really need to think on a bigger scale and cast a much wider net. And that has to be done before you're in financial trouble. So what people think is, well, my business it's doing okay. And then by the time they realize that they need help, it's just like when you're sick and you go to the doctor, it's like, well, I've had this nagging, thing in my neck for 6 months. It's like
this big.
Exactly. So, you hire a PR expert before you feel like your business is quote unquote sick.
Yeah, I can see that because just from the little bit we've been talking here, the strategy and the broader, more knowledgeable view of the potential of it would be changing how you're going forward. Even if maybe, you're 6 months or a year out from that TV training, you kind of have a roadmap now. You've got a strategy and it gives you a broader look at what it is you're doing now.
Oh, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. Because, you also have to remember we're human beings and we go through a whole range of emotions as well in our businesses. Some days we're like, oh, this is great. And other days we're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? You go through those, ebb and flow. You have those great days and those not so great days. And PR is kind of the same way. There are going to be times when, you've got media opportunities coming at you from all directions. And then there may be other times where you're like, okay, it's a little slow here. And so what I do as well with my business owners is I teach them what you should be doing during each of those times. So it's a well-oiled machine. You're not sitting around waiting for people to find you. You know, what I tell people is, you know, we teach you how to fish. You know, we're not going to give you a fish. We're going to teach you how to fish.
So is that basically teaching them how to properly pitch? Find opportunities
Absolutely.
and then pitch it.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, they don't even understand what a pitch is. They think, well, I sent a press release. And I'm like, in my 30 years of television, I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've actually booked something from a press release, because you really have to visualize for that producer, what is that segment going to look like?
Absolutely. I say that with my clients too. Like, you have to make it so, like, in the first few seconds, you've made it very clear how you're going to enhance their experience, how you're going to make their life easier, why you're a great fit, what a wonderful segment you're going to be.
That's right. And you've only got a few seconds to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, in my case, I get people saying, here's my website, take a look. Like, that's not happening.
Right. Oh, I get that all the time. You know, or I'll get like, oh, so-and-so is an expert in this topic. If you want to talk to her, we can book an interview. And I'm like, what? Yeah. How much work am I supposed to do to figure out whether or not this is even feasible? Exactly.
Who wants to get booked here?
Exactly. Right. It's like, you got to sell it. You've got to sell it. And so we do a lot of the mind work, you know, the mindset work with that too, because you may not necessarily feel like selling it. It's work, right? But you know, we really give you the formulation and the framework for doing that so that it works. And it's, you know, and it's repeatable. You just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just technique. It's not just here, follow this recipe. Yeah. You've got to kind of be in the headspace as well.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Like a parallel columns on that one. So for the average person who maybe isn't a television producer or knows one, what are some of the biggest roadblocks to getting featured in the media?
Oh gosh, there are so many. First of all, you know, I think one of the biggest roadblocks is right here. You know, it's in your mind, because a lot of people feel like, well, if they've thought about getting on TV, they've often said, well, nobody wants to hear my story. I mean, I'm just an average, everyday person. There's nothing incredible about me. So that's really the first roadblock you've got to get over. You are unique. You have some very unique, and you have a lot of value that you can offer to an audience. And that's what you have to be focused on. A lot of people approach PR and media from the sense of, it's all about me. Let me tell you why I'm so great. You know, I have to just, you know, or this whole idea of this desperation of, I need to reach more people. I've got to make more sales. And it's like, that is not the energy that you bring to the table when you are trying to get media. Absolutely not. That is not going to work. So that's one of the biggest challenges. The other challenge is really recognizing how to tell a story. Many people do not understand the immense value in storytelling. You know, when you think about everything that we do in our lives, everything that makes you sit up and take notice, makes you become interested, that makes you want to listen, is because of the story. Even if you watch commercials now are so different from commercials from 30, 40 years ago, where it used to be, hey, we're such and such soap, buy our soap. And now you turn it on and it's like, they're taking you through this story, you know, and you get engulfed in it and you experience emotion. I mean, how many of us have ever cried during a TV commercial?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, just recently, actually, there was this big science story broke. And I mean, like, it's long been said that cognitively, we are encoded to understand in story.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like, I've often cited the whole thing of the Australian Aboriginals and how for thousands of years, just through the power of story, they were able to keep that. It stayed in people's minds and it went forward. But just recently, there was 2 weeks ago out of one of the large universities in the United States, there was research that showed that story is even more powerful for getting information into people's heads and having it lodged there than even what was the classical Greek methodology, the imagination palace that the Greeks used. It was even more powerful. They did it with med students, and they found the whole thing of story is what gets that information into people's heads. So
That is
yeah,
exactly
you
right.
need to
That's
have that
right.
story.
And
That's how we receive information.
it is absolutely. We're emotional beings, and that is how we connect. And so that has to be in every part of your PR strategy, from connecting to that journalist to connecting with their audience. It has to be in every part of it. And a lot of times people don't even recognize it. People will come to me sometimes and they'll say, oh, well, I want to get, some media exposure for XYZ. And as I'm talking to them, I'm just like, okay, yeah, you do this. Yeah, you sell that, blah, 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 blah. And then at a certain point, it's like the hairs will stand up and I'm going, that's it. That's your story.
Yeah.
And they're going, what? That? I'm like, yes, that's the story. A lot of times it's right there in front of your face, but because you've lived it and you hear it, it's such a part of your everyday life that you don't recognize that's your story.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to go on TV and say, hey, buy my book, buy my stuff. People are buying from people that they know, like, and trust. I mean, it's like they say you can sell, what do they say? Snow to an Iceman or something like that. It's like, if you've got the right story, I mean, you've got to connect. You've got to connect. So really, that's the biggest roadblock.
Do you find that a lot of people that come to you and they want to learn how to be able to be their own PR machine? Do you find that they're sometimes surprised at the fact that story and finding your story and establishing that brand story is actually a big part of what you do with people?
Yeah, absolutely. Because even when we go through our media training, sometimes they'll go, well, when do I talk about my book? Or when do I talk about, and I'm like, you don't. This is not, you talking about, and again, it depends on what you're pitching and how you pitched it and what you promised. But a lot of times that's not going to be the forefront. I mean, even if you've watched news, sometimes they may have somebody who's written a book and they'll go, oh, we're going to get to your book in a minute, but first we want to talk about, and it's like, okay, that's where you're making that connection. And then you can talk about your book. But, I've had people who say, well, I didn't really get to talk that much about myself. And it's like, because it's not about you. It's not about you. You don't have to go out there waving flags saying, hey, look at me, look at me. It has to come from the head and the heart. When you make that connection, everything else falls into place.
And then that synced with the goals that you've established beforehand. It's like, this is with this piece of PR.
Absolutely.
And this appearance, this is what I want to achieve.
Yes.
Then you connect those two. And people have to be connected to you and feel like, I want to know more about this person.
That's right.
To want to then later buy your book or show up at your event or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. They want to connect with you.
So I had asked you a question that I ask all of my guests. And amongst those questions is it always like, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you wish people understood about accessing TV? Well, in your case, accessing TV to promote their brand. And one of the things that you had said that you referred to earlier was PR strategies don't pay off overnight. You have to be patient and persistent. How long are we talking here?
Well, I'll tell you, honestly, it depends. It depends on what you're pitching. It depends on your strategy, because sometimes it can be a longer strategy. I've literally had clients that I've worked with where we've pitched something on a Friday and I've gotten a response on Monday like, hey, yeah, we definitely want this person, let's do it. And then other times, it may be a couple of weeks. Sometimes it could even be a couple of months, because one of the things that we also do with our clients is we help them to create a media calendar. And what that is going to do is really give you a look into the topics and the stories that the media is going to be covering down the road. And a lot of times when people come to me, it's too late. Like, I'll get people who might, it's February 15th and they're pitching what they think is an incredible Black History Month story. Like, but Black History Month is halfway over, and you need to understand that I've been developing Black History Month stories for the last 3 months.
I was going to ask you, when do you start especially a big event like that? It's a couple months out.
Exactly. Absolutely. And so by the time you come to me, it's like, it's too late. I've already
maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Now's the time to start thinking about next year. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then also finding those topics that you fit in that are not always so obvious. People might think, on a media calendar, you may have something like, I know one of the things that's coming up, because I look at my media calendar very often with my clients. There's one called, and you may not even know, Bring Your Dog to Work Day. Did you know that there was a Bring Your Dog to Work Day?
Nope.
Exactly.
I work
There
from
is
home.
a day for everything. There's also it's what I don't know if it's called work from home day, but there is a day where that fits in. So those are opportunities where you can be pitching stories, and they don't always necessarily have to be so clear cut. Sometimes you really have to be creative, and that's one of the things that I love to do with my clients. I mean, I remember recently I worked with someone, speaking of Black History Month, and we did a story. We were working with a local nursing school. And of course, what they do is they teach people to become nurses. But we didn't pitch, let's go on TV and talk about, hey, we need students to come and enroll in our school. Boring.
Hmm.
We pitched a Black History Month story about celebrities who were nurses before they became famous. And so
How clever is that?
that's exactly right. So you have to kind of, think outside the box and really be creative. And, so you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with our nursing school? It's like everything, every opportunity, again, is not a commercial for you. But when people start learning, oh, so-and-so was a nurse and, this famous rapper or this famous singer or this actor, that they all had nursing careers before they became famous, it makes them, that's something that's memorable. But then it also is great PR for a nursing school. So it's not always just going to be, hey, go to our website and sign up for our classes.
Yeah. In that case, it's them that's selling.
Absolutely. And it worked. I mean, they had an upcoming open house that was coming up. People flooded in, they got increased enrollment. So it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
So the question that was kind of formulating in my mind was, is TV PR and TV appearances something that everyone could potentially be looking at? But you just actually came up with an example where a nursing school actually was able to leverage it. So is there any limit? Like, is there anybody that should reasonably go, yeah, no, nobody?
No. There really isn't. Everybody can benefit from it. It's just really all about developing the right story ideas and finding out where you fit and finding those right outlets for you. There's an outlet for everything. There is a day for everything, and just coming up with the right strategy to make that work.
Wow. So
everybody can do it.
So you do, I was looking through your bio, I know that you run a couple of programs. You've got the Be Seen and Get Booked, which is actually coming up pretty soon. Well, you said that you're doing intake for it right now.
Yes. So enrollment is open for that right now.
And
so
you've got two though.
I've got two.
So what's the difference? You've got the Be Seen and Get Booked, and you've also got Lights, Camera, Access.
Yes. Yes.
So what's the difference?
Well, Be Seen, Get Booked is really, it's more of a shorter, we're kind of jumpstarting you, giving you the foundation. So again, we're teaching you how to do that PR plan, that media calendar, how to really think about your pitch, how to build those relationships with journalists, recognizing media outlets, understanding where your target audience is, and getting familiar with, what are the TV shows they're watching? What are they reading? What are they listening to? And then implementing that plan over a course of 3 months. So it's a 3-month program. It's a combination of recorded modules as well as live coaching that you get from me and my team. And for over the course of 3 months, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I've seen people, as a matter of fact, I had a client who texted me late last night, and she goes, whoa, we're national. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she's telling me about national coverage that she just booked. And so we're, again, putting that power of PR in your hands. And so she's got a well-oiled machine going now. When we started with her, she was doing, she started local. And now, and I think we started with her in April. So, so in a course of 2 months, she's now getting national coverage.
So she started from zero.
She started from zero. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. She started from zero.
So some people are longer, but she was kind of a rocket.
Exactly. Because she followed the strategy, because she didn't, her pitch was not, hey, look at me, this thing that I've got. Her pitch was, here's what I'm offering. People often think that your pitch is your ask. What are you asking of that journalist or of that news station? No, it's your offering.
Yes.
What are you giving? What are you bringing? And so when you understand that and everything that you do falls in alignment with that, it can't miss. And so, yeah, she has been an incredible example for that. We had a client who was recently in Oprah magazine. And again, she started local. ended up going national. Again, journalists talk, people see things. And before you knew it, she was getting, featured in O magazine, which is, that's pretty phenomenal.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice piece of social proof.
It is for sure. So Be Seen, Get Booked we do all of that in a course of 3 months. Lights, Camera, Access is a year-long mentoring program. So with that, we're kind of walking you through the process. I'm holding your hand throughout a full 12 months. And again, we're learning those strategies that are completely replicable. So everything that I teach you, even when we're no longer working together, you've got that foundation and now you're off and running by yourself. But we take you through a year-long mentoring process, understanding the media, what goes on behind the scenes, building those connections. And it's phenomenal.
So as I'm thinking about this, I'm envisioning these two programs and they both sound amazing. Is for the people who are doing the shorter one, are they people who have a little more time to devote to it versus somebody who they've got a full schedule, they need the year and the support?
Right. Well, I mean, really, the results, you're going to get the same results, but it's like you're getting a little bit more accountability. So sometimes I will have people who say, well, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do a program. What they don't realize is that this can be done in as little as 15 minutes. This is not your full-time job. I don't expect anybody to take this program as their full-time job. It's really enhancing what you do. And because you have a strategy, it doesn't take you long. It's very... it's simpler than a lot of people think,
But you need to talk to a professional who can show you the simplicity of it and optimize your approach to it. Because I'm imagining that you could just burn up dozens of hours if you didn't know what you were doing.
And a lot of people do. Absolutely. A lot of people do. They say, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for months, or, I spend hours a day trying to write a pitch. And it's like, no, it doesn't take you hours a day to write a pitch.
Yeah.
There's a way to write a pitch. There are follow-up strategies, all of these keys that we give you so that it works without you having to spend hours a day.
So if anybody's interested in those things or just checking you out, I'm going to drop some of the links below, both in the YouTube video and in the podcast itself. I would definitely recommend people check you out and start thinking about it. As you say, it can help just about anybody.
Absolutely. Anybody. Absolutely. Yeah. And if it's something that you've never even considered before, maybe this conversation has now got you thinking, maybe it could work for me. So, I'd happily have a conversation about it.
I mean, I could see as it would. I mean, they say any PR is good PR. I disagree with that. Not quite, but good PR is good PR. But if you want to differentiate yourself from your competition, if you want to stand out from the noise, PR is what puts you forward and gets you seen.
It does. Absolutely. It does. And how are people going to feel when they come in contact with your business? When they come in contact with you, what kind of emotions are you invoking? When people think about your business, are they going, oh my gosh? Or are they going, oh yeah.
Yeah. And they already feel like, I know this person, I know this business. They're already, you talk about cold, warm, hot traffic. I mean, they're already halfway down that process.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the simple process. And so many opportunities are right in front of people that they just don't see.
Until you know how to see it, and you teach people how to see those opportunities. Yeah. Well, Stacia, before we wrap up here, I want to leave you with the opportunity to give us any last words that you'd like people to keep in mind.
I just want people to know that PR is magic. That is the magic dust that your business needs, that every business needs. But it's not just about what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. It's the energy behind what you're doing. That is so key. And again, it's that foundational relationship that you are developing with journalists. And, then those opportunities just kind of come out of the woodwork. But, learning the value of your story is going to be key.
Love it. Thank you so much for telling me, giving me this peek behind the scenes of what you do, and also just for being here. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Did you know that podcast guesting, being the featured guest interviewed on podcasts, is one of the hottest 2021 ways to build brand, audience, and your business? To get your unique message and personality out there to those who need to hear it. As a podcaster myself and a business consultant, I help turn entrepreneurs into business people who can proficiently and profitably use podcast guesting as a powerful part of their marketing plan. Want to know more? You can download the 5-step guide below in the notes, or if you really want to get moving on it, book a call and let's map out how we could make it part of your marketing plan.